Well, good evening, America, and this is Q News Tonight, the world's first live daily gay evening news show, and it's 7 p.m., Wednesday, January 29th, 2020. Q News Tonight is live and unscripted, so anything can happen. You're getting ready to see it, live and unscripted. Tonight, we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBT community. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and these are my co-anchor partners, Aaron Darr and Napoleon Plays. First off, before we jump into the news, we'd like to thank Concepto Modern Living for creating our set here in the World AIDS Museum. We'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment.
We ask you, are LGBTQ voices important to you? Can the news of the world have a gay community perspective? Do our gay cultural stories impact you and your friends and family? If you, like us, think the answer is a resounding yes, then like and subscribe to Q News Tonight on YouTube and Facebook. It's easy to start a watch party. Just click it in the bottom right, and we hope that you'll do that.
And Q News Tonight is part of the Happening Out television network. We are the Daily News, because you can also watch the best of entertainment live every Monday night at 8 p.m. on happening.fun. We are also part of the most popular live gay TV show in the world, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And guess what? It's Wednesday night. And that TV show is called It's Happening Out. It's like a talk show like TV's The View, with a whole lot of gay people. And finally, we are broadcasting from our set in the middle of the World AIDS Museum and Education Center here in Wilton Manors in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which we joke often that we're coming from the gayest place on planet Earth.
And we're getting ready to broadcast It's Happening Out, the most popular live gay TV show in the world. And you're a guest host on the show tonight.
I am. I will be there.
We can't wait to make fun of you and make fun of you differently than what we do here at Q.
But you're dressed in blue. We know where you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I am.
All right. Let's jump tonight in Q News Tonight right into the breaking Q news. Chairman McConnell of the GOP in the Senate has admitted that he does not have the votes necessary to prevent witnesses currently for the impeachment trial. We've prepared this video for you. Watch this.
Big developments within the last 24 hours as Dow Jones is reporting that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told Republicans in a private meeting that he does not have the votes to block witnesses. Now, that means two important things, Alex, especially for our audience. One, that vote on whether or not there will be witnesses could come as early as Friday. And secondly, if there are witnesses that are allowed into the trial, it would dramatically extend the timeline for how long this trial lasts.
Republicans now lack the votes to block witnesses at President Donald Trump's impeachment trial, as Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell conceded late Tuesday. A potential major hurdle for Donald Trump's hopes to end the trial with a quick acquittal. Earlier, Trump's lawyers concluded his defense with a plea to move on. Even after sitting through days and late nights of arguments, several Republicans are apparently ready to join Democrats in considering in-person testimony from National Security Advisor John Bolton and perhaps others. This follows the articles of impeachment, which are abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, which will be very interesting if they allow witnesses to see how this plays out this year, because it is a very important election year where the House, Congress, is up for grabs, the United States Senate is up for grabs, and the White House.
I was shocked yesterday. It came out after we came on the air, but I was shocked yesterday that major poll shows now that 75% of all Americans favor evidence and testimony of witnesses in the impeachment trial. It just brought me to a complete stop.
Even Republicans to be included in
Majority
that.
of Republicans even now. And it shocked me because it was like 95% of all Democrats and like 54 or 55%.
I think it's shocking for more than just reason. The Senate is elected so that they can represent their constituents, and the hope is that they actually will do that in terms of numbers by voting what their constituents want. And if we see that or not, I guess we'll see in a couple of days.
Very interesting. We continue in the breaking Q news tonight, and of course, the other major story that we've been talking about this week, quite frightening, is the coronavirus. British Airways has announced a complete ban of flight connection to mainland China, and the White House is now considering a U.S. ban of flights to China also. We prepared about what's happening in flight bans with the coronavirus. Watch this.
I know that many Americans may be worried about the virus, And I wanted to let them know a few things that they can do. Everyone has a role to play in helping contain the spread of this virus. CDC, in conjunction with the State Department, has updated our travel guidance and now recommends that travelers avoid unnecessary travel to China.
Update on how the White House has considered the coronavirus to affect our country. The China Foreign Office has stated that all but essential travel should be banned from the country, which has led to British Airways, Lion Air, and Seoul Air, the latter two being Asian Airways, suspending flights to the country entirely. The CDC and Department of Health have expanded travel advisories across all of China, not just now in the original city from which the virus was found. And those have escalated to level 3 and level 4, which are the highest levels of the travel advisory which it can reach. There have been, of course, 60 cases in 13 countries outside of China where people have contracted this virus. Here in America, United, Delta, and American Airlines, all, the only 3 that fly to China, have suspended their trips to China. They are giving waivers to anyone who might have those passes or those trips already planned. They have between 6 and 12 daily flights already scheduled.
I'm interested in, of course, this is a dramatic story going on. China is the #1 LGBT destination for Americans to Asia. I imagine there is quite a tremendous amount of fear of travel from China, but also to China, of so many LGBT Americans that would want to go, that everything is on hold now.
That's true, and not just with travel itself, but also just with the stock market in general. As we reported yesterday, we have seen, yesterday was the second day, today has been the third day that it has plummeted in terms of Chinese stock. There is the entire world economics that is a little bit frustrated and scared of what this might mean to their development, and how we can travel there is only a small portion of it.
Also significant to me on reporting on the coronavirus, just yesterday, over the course of this week, the number of deaths increased in a single day by 30%. The math here of the impact in China is dramatic, and it's something that we all need to be watching very closely. We come out of breaking Q news into queuing up the world and focusing on different stories that are happening around the world for the LGBT or our point of view. Support of LGBT rights is soaring in the Czech Republic in Eastern Europe for the support of gay marriage. Aaron, tell us about what's happening in the Czech Republic.
Yes, a new poll shows that 2/3 of Czech Republic citizens are now in support of marriage equality. This happens to be a generational split. Of course, more young people in this poll, they saw that 35 to 54-year-olds were more in support of it than an older generation. However, regardless of one supporting marriage equality or not, overwhelmingly, most Czech Republic citizens support the idea of LGBT people being able to adopt. And very also important to note that this has been an ongoing issue. The Chamber of Deputies, which is their equivalent to U.S. Congress, had introduced marriage equality legislation in 2018 and unfortunately had stalled, and it hasn't been heard since early 2019. So we're hoping that they will follow suit and legalize love.
So you're stating that it's almost the opposite of here, like we reported yesterday in Tennessee, where gay marriage is legal, but adoption is questionably legal. And in this country, it's the reverse, where you can adopt to save children's lives, but not get married.
Yes.
America, we remind you, and the world, this is Q News Tonight. We're reporting on the important LGBT news around the world and in America. We invite you, while you may be watching us in social, whatever your preference of social media platform, we invite you to come to YouTube. We're broadcasting live in YouTube right now at YouTube Television, and you can see us on your television in 4K. We invite you to tune in. We continue in queuing up the world as we talk about K-pop for queer, on the rise as choirs in Asia are singing for social change. Asia is very far behind Europe and North America. And Napoleon, tell us about what's happening with choirs and choruses.
That's
in
right.
Asia.
A lot of gay rights and civil rights in Asia are ranked as being behind some of the other countries in terms of equality. And what we're seeing now is that growth in LGBTQ choirs, meaning choirs that express an LGBTQ voice primarily, have had a sense of social change, because they have now been called K-pop for queer, where they sing everything from ballads to hymns, where they are protesting in a peaceful way for the rights of LGBTQ people. This is to promote the awareness, the presence, as well as the self-identity of these different LGBTQ groups and individuals. Some of these groups include Uni, which means a sister in Korean, as well as G-Voice, which is an all-gay voice. They have been intended to fight prejudice, feminism, cyberbullying, all sorts of different beliefs as, again, a way of protesting in a peaceful way.
I'm a big supporter of this story that you're reporting on. I am a member of the South Florida Gay Men's Chorus, a very large chorus here in South Florida. I understand you have sang for them also.
And you just did a big protest performance with them, didn't you?
Absolutely, and I've heard Aaron sing, and he's not in a gay chorus, and there's a very good reason why, but it can lead to social action and social change. So we're reporting about what's going on in Asia in this gay cultural experience of gay choir. We move out of world news into queuing up the USA, and multiple big stories happening in the United States. First, Iowa's coming up this coming Monday, the Iowa caucus, and in Iowa, the GOP, representatives from the GOP say, no, you should not be able to fly a trans flag. Napoleon, tell us about what's going on in Iowa.
Yes, the Republican Party, the GOP, has had 2 senators that are Republican draft a bill that limits how flags can be flown above public, government, and school buildings. This is a response to when during the Trans Day of Remembrance, when the trans flag was flown above City Hall. State Representative Skylar Wheeler actually went on record to say that this was another way that the Rainbow Jihad continues to give those of us who don't agree with them a finger. He's saying that those of us in the Rainbow Jihad, us gay people, are giving them the finger by fighting for our equality, by flying a flag, is what that sentence says. And also, just as a correspondence, Democratic Senator Tony Bisignano has called the bill reactionary politics because it is a bill of inclusion, and he doesn't want to participate in that exclusion.
Of course, we're broadcasting from the World AIDS Museum here in Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We affectionately say it's the gayest place on planet Earth. I've heard a lot of conversation about our own community flying a trans flag. Do you know what the city's position is?
Oh, I was just being told today, Aaron, you were stating that we can't fly our own trans flag here in Wilton Manors?
Well, no, we can fly our own flag here in Wilton Manors, but it's been an ongoing issue of debate with the current administration under this mayor and the city council here in Wilton Manors. They will fly the trans flag when someone is murdered who identifies as transgender or gender nonconforming, but they do fly the pride flag under the American flag every day outside of Wilton Manors City Hall. So we're asking and have asked multiple times Mayor Justin Flippin and other members of the city council in Wilton Manors to also fly the trans flag every day in solidarity.
Interesting. We'll watch this story from Iowa closely to see if they ban the ability to fly the flag. We move out of news in the USA to queuing up sports. And this is kind of a strange sports story that we're getting ready to report on. This Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. Everybody in America knows that. Aaron's viewpoint of Sunday is different than many of ours.
It's a Jennifer Lopez concert,
Yes,
guys.
it's Jennifer Lopez Day. And the Super Bowl is taking place right in our own backyard, only about 12 or 13 miles from this broadcast studio right now. Super Bowl Sunday. But an interesting sports story is it's being revealed some of the commercials that are going to be in, which, by the way, is the #1 reason people watch the Super Bowl is the commercials.
Hey, there are lots of dog commercials. I'm there for them.
Drag queens are going to be in the first Super Bowl ad ever. We've prepared this for you. Watch this.
Ready, Cracker? Chickpeas! I was born ready. I hope this doesn't give me helmet hair.
So let's hope that that does not give Miss Cracker helmet hair. So for our viewers that may not be familiar with these two queens, they are Kim Chi from season 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race and Miss Cracker, who will be on the upcoming season of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars. Both of them star in this commercial, which is for Sabra Hummus. Very good. Love hummus. And this is awesome because it normalizes drag culture to a broader aspect of society. They're making history because over 100 million people are going to see this commercial.
I read an article. I can't vouch for the accuracy of this, but I read an article that as many as 75 to 80 million people that watch the Super Bowl and watch this commercial have never seen a drag queen before in any real fashion, and so this is likely going to bring many people to a complete stop.
Clearly, they've never been to a Dolly Parton concert.
Yeah.
Then this is a great opportunity because they chose two queens, Miss Cracker, obviously named after a sense of white privilege, and also Kim Chi, two people that represent different cultures, Jewish and Asian, as a way to do that. They're hitting a lot of minorities with this. I understand it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We move. That's our sports news, and we hope you enjoy the.
I was really good at those sports today.
Yeah.
Go Bears! Go Bears or Dolphins or whatever animal.
Football doesn't have a baseball in it, by the way. It's football.
You say tomatoes, I say Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We move out of sports and we queue up business. And this is an interesting business story because we give you a bit of a gay culture reference in business. We zeroed in on an interesting story about gay porn stars and their requirement of wanting to have more money in the profession that they're in, their business profession. We've prepared this interesting video. Watch this.
Hey everyone, I'm Silver Steele and you're watching Q News Tonight. Out of the closet and into the headlines. I have been paid a range of salaries. I mean, varying by hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a similar amount of work from studio to studio. But I do understand the need of studios these days to cut costs. With porn becoming so accessible in the past decade or so because of the internet, and not only that, but Just for Fans and OnlyFans and similar sites have changed the model of how porn works. Everybody can essentially become their own studio. So essentially, you've got the same pie, but everybody wants more of a piece of it.
What you're hearing right now is one perspective from a performer in the porn industry as in regard to how studios are treating the performers themselves. Others have gone on record to state that OnlyFans or Just for Fans are the only ways for them to actually make money, and that the studio films are just a way of promoting, because without a minimum of at least $1,000, which is not a standard in the industry, they do not have a union, they do not have a group of people that are reliant on a standard. Many performers start off or only continue to make up to $300 to $500 per film, which means that their likeness, their image is in perpetuity not going to be paid for, because performers in porn don't actually make any money in residual income. To further this argument a little bit further, there have also been some documentations as to how bottoms, those that are reciprocating or being received in a porn fashion, are not paid as well as tops, the penetrator in these scenes. Armand Rizzo has stated that a specific group, Blacks on Boys, which is a porn company that produces different industries, hit him up. They wanted to have him as a performer, but he went on record to state that he is getting very passionate because he has little to do. He literally has to do all of the work. And he also claimed, "Who are you to say that a bottom is worth less?" Standing up for bottoms' rights. He says that bottoms have all of the work in terms of prep and staying lightweight.
I can only imagine what my grandmother's thinking right now, watching this with all of her Baptist friends. Oh my God.
Your grandmother's watching the show right now.
Yeah.
Well, to Aaron's grandmother and her friends that are watching Q News tonight,
I guess you just learned for the top and the bottom.
we focus on gay culture and gay community, and we're very proud that we bring news in.
Yeah, I agree.
And it relates very heavily to their group of people as well, because a lot of what bottoms experience is a sense of what females have experienced all across time, is a sense of marginalization because they're less than or seen as the feminine ones. And that's part of what this fight is that's happening now, is saying that all people are equal, regardless of top, bottom, male or female.
Well, it's an interesting story, and I'm very sure that Lester Holt at NBC Nightly News is not reporting on a story like this tonight. We're very proud that we can bring you everything at Q News tonight.
Quality.
We move out of this into queuing up gay culture. And our first gay culture story tonight has to do with Pulse in an indirect way. We were very sad to announce that the executive director the former executive director of the Orlando LGBT Center, Terry DeCarlo, has died. Terry DeCarlo is an institution here in South Florida, and of course a print advocacy that we have here in South Florida, the SFGN News. He's on today's cover, breaking for them. We congratulate them for this, and fantastic story about saying goodbye to Terry DeCarlo. Terry DeCarlo may not be as well known to you, but Terry DeCarlo, in the minutes and hours and days after Pulse, was really one of the major leaders in Orlando to help the community recover. Very important to me, as many in America know my story connection with Pulse, and my friend Eddie Sotomayor and Top Hat Eddie. And Terry DeCarlo was very kind to me in the days after what happened in Pulse. And we're very sad to say, after a long struggle with cancer, he has passed. Did y'all know Terry?
Well, I know that we got to report on him a couple of times. I believe that we have a video that's prepared for the segment to watch.
Exactly. Watch this. Thank you.
A little bit of his legacy.
And can you describe your emotions right now?
I don't know how to describe them. On one hand, I've got 20 of our community members laying on the floor of a nightclub, dead. I've got 40 people in the hospital right now. And I have so many community members that were there, that witnessed this, that were part of this. So yeah, the emotions are all over the place right now.
Terry did this national report the morning of Pulse, while the information was unfolding about what was really happening at Pulse. At this moment, while he was doing this, I was at the Orlando Regional Medical Center in the Family Crisis Center, learning about victims. And from this moment, Terry DeCarlo began to really be a leader in the LGBT community. He will always be remembered for this moment. He did so many charitable things in so many different ways. Beyond what we can do, you should go online to SFGN. They've done a beautiful job in summarizing Terry DeCarlo. But we bring to America's attention that an icon from the Pulse event, one of the most important events that affected the gay community. Terry DeCarlo was one of our leaders in the community, and we mourn his loss tonight in reporting his death. We continue in gay culture by talking about a new book, and queuing up gay culture, about a new book that is coming out, and it's about gay America. And to live in gay America, you must live and train yourself to have what the author calls, double vision. Aaron, tell us about this new book on gay America.
Yes, Double Vision in Gay America. It's from a new book called Gay Like Me by author Richie Jackson, who writes to his gay son what it takes to be a gay man in America. He addresses the gift, the gift of being gay, as well as the guard that the gay community must always have up, and that one constantly must live in this double consciousness of being not only an American, but a gay American, and the disparities between both, the struggles and the adversities that one often faces, the fact that their rights are constantly up for debate, and that this life is led very difficult because of the setbacks the society often places on you based off of your LGBT status. This is something that I think is wonderful, and personally, as a teenager growing up in Baptist, Ohio, in the area I grew up in, I would have loved to have had a book like this growing up.
I'm really looking forward to reading this book. I'm going to do it. One of the summaries on the book that I read that I thought was extremely interesting is it made a contrast comparison to the black community and what it was like about being black in America and the double
consciousness,
the double consciousness.
And the author even touches on that this idea, this concept of double consciousness goes back to the disparity of racial inequality in this country, where one can be an American, but you're also an African.
It's still relevant as far as now, where we have a lot of rights. Aaron, you and I are a younger generation, and we still see this kind of disparity. I know you and I both have feelings where we've expressed this is something that's okay to do, but this is something that's not okay to do because of where our society is at, even though a straight paralleled couple would be able to do the same things without that question.
Right. Exactly. We come out of the reporting on this gay culture story and cue up health. We have a rather distressing health story to report on tonight, as it has been announced that the Los Angeles LGBT Center has decided that it is going to have to charge for STD or STI and other related tests. Napoleon, tell us what's happening in Los Angeles.
The LA LGBT Center has stated that after an estimated 15,000 people who get tested there for STIs on a regular basis, and that they are no longer going to be able to receive that funding. The statement is that this represents a direct assault on the LGBTQ community, the cutting of the funding by the Department of Health and by the Department of Health Director, Barbara Ferrer. This cut testing and treatment funding is by over $1 million between 2019 and 2020. As a comparison, in the last 5 years, LA County has seen cases in syphilis rise by 98%, in chlamydia by 8%, and in gonorrhea by 25%. So they're cutting the costs of this free testing. It's going to affect tens of thousands, yet we still see these rise happen.
In reporting this story, do you have anticipation that this may be a trend that affects other centers around the country?
I have a strong fear. LA is at the leading forefront of what goes on. And if even in LA County, they cannot get testing to be free, which is a strong way of limiting the spread of STIs, especially among the LGBTQ community, it is a sign that's going to be happening across the country, which means that rates are going to go up, and that part of the stigmas that we've worked so hard to fight against and the health and the society that we've worked to build is going to be depleted, just from examples like this.
Yeah, very distressing story to me. We continue in queuing up health by talking about a secret code, ingenious of what a clinic has done on creating a secret code to help the LGBT community. Aaron, tell us about what's going on here.
Yes, an unknown clinic has created a system for individuals who perhaps are suffering from domestic violence.
And unknown because we're keeping it
unknown
secret.
Because
we're not allowing people
yes.
to know.
And they've created a system where a patient who is at the clinic can report that they are in an unhealthy relationship, perhaps in a relationship that is of domestic violence. So it's a black and red marker system that if one is giving a urine sample, if they write their name in red marker, it's a flag for staff at the clinic to let them know that someone needs to intervene and talk to them about necessary steps forward to take them out of a situation in which
and it
they
could
find
be for
themselves in.
various different things.
It could be for various different.
It could be
yes.
Any kinds of concern, suicidal thoughts.
Yes,
anything.
yeah. And it's very interesting because with this, there was a study that was really saying that 21% of men in a survey that are in same-sex relationships face domestic violence. 35% of women in same-sex.
21%.
21%, yes. 35% of women who are in same-sex relationships report domestic violence, which was interesting between male and female. And then with transgender individuals who find themselves to be in relationships with anyone in society, theirs was 35 as well.
Wow, amazing. A very interesting story. We move into what we call queuing up Vote 2020. Everybody knows November 3rd, 2020 is the election likely of a lifetime. We are reporting a kind of a strange story that took place here in South Florida, Walton Manors, Fort Lauderdale. A former It's Happening Out host has come out defending Trump as being the most gay-friendly president in history. And we've prepared this video. Watch this. Wish Mueller would have said something more. He creates the confusion, even that's expressed at this table.
What confusion?
He
no collusion, no obstruction.
All right.
End of story. Move on, people.
He never came out and said no obstruction. The Mueller report clearly shows obstruction.
All right.
Collusion, you can argue. Obstruction, there's no argument.
There's no obstruction, no
We're
collusion.
going to move on. We're going to move on.
He obstructed.
We're
He
going to.
obstructed.
Black Having Republicans are members of the LGBT community and are straight allies. We support conservative values. We support the Second Amendment. We're pro-life and lower taxes and less government in our homes, as it does on the national platform with the Republican national. So we're just a little subchapter of that. We just happen to be gay people who support conservative values and totally support the most pro-gay president we've ever had.
What you were seeing in those clips was former It's Happening Out, the world's most popular live gay TV show, panelist Andrew Brett speak in two different videos. In the first, he was confronting one of our current hosts, Power Infinity, on a matter related to politics. She actually came in right now just to make sure that she could see it and see Andrew Brett because he was removed after an incident which was furthered by the video that we saw with Aaron, who's going to be hosting tonight. Andrew Brett is a former host of that show, and he's also the president of the Broward County Log Cabin Republicans, who are a gay Republican group. That group did not endorse Trump in 2016, but did now in the current year, causing a lot of people that are in power there to resign because they did not believe that they should be supporting that. Andrew has stated that Trump is the most pro-gay president in U.S. history, but there have been an estimated 136 attacks on LGBTQ people, ranging from the legalization to fire gay people for their sexuality, pushing for healthcare workers to be able to deny healthcare to gay people, allowing adoption agencies to discriminate against gay parents, and of course targeting transgender Americans in healthcare, shelter access, education, and military services. This is in part as well with adding anti-LGBTQ judges. So while Andrew will state that a large portion of LGBTQ families are just in the closet and scared of being vocal because of the backlash, we see these other things in effect from Trump.
You know, I have to say something.
I'm
you know,
sitting here waiting for you.
One is entitled to their own opinion. However, they're not entitled to their own facts. You know, I had interviewed Andrew recently for Q News Tonight, and one of the things that I thought was most startling in the 6-minute interview that I did with him was he said that, quote, "The president can do whatever the hell he wants," unquote. And that speaks to the argument of Trump's lawyer today, the defense team, Alan Dershowitz, going on to say that if quid pro quo benefits the president of the United States politically, it's fine because all politicians believe their elections are in the public interest, therefore it has no corrupt motive. So again, this just speaks to the complete and total disregard that people like Andrew and many of Trump's policies and his supporters have for our Constitution in this country.
Well,
very backwards.
America, we bring this story to you not only because the president of the Log Cabin Republicans here in South Florida was a host member of the most popular live gay TV show in the world, but he wrote an op-ed that was published in the major South Florida daily newspaper, basically making the arguments of why the gay community should support President Trump and why he is the most pro-gay president in history, and it brought everyone to a stop, a breathtaking stop, and we report it here tonight. We continue in queuing up Vote 2020 to talk about Mayor Bloomberg, and Mayor Bloomberg today has unveiled the new LGBT plan for America. And Aaron, tell us about what Mayor Bloomberg has done today.
Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who's a 2020 presidential candidate, has released his LGBTQ equality plan, which Bloomberg promises to expand health coverage and non-discrimination protections for LGBT people, including ensuring the right of transgender people to access medically necessary gender-affirming care. He wants to invest in HIV/AIDS research and curb this disease by 2030. He also supports the Do Not Harm Act, which seeks to ensure that the Religious Freedom Restoration Act is not used to justify discrimination against minority groups like LGBT people. He wants to decriminalize sex work, he wants more funding for mental health and substance abuse, and he wants to pass and implement, but what is the most important thing? The Equality Act. And something I thought was very interesting, he wants to go get the back military benefits for soldiers that were previously discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell that have still, since the overturn of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, have still not had access to those military benefits.
This is kind of breaking news, Mayor Bloomberg's announcement for the LGBT community. As our political expert at Q News tonight, what was your first reaction in today's announcement of his plan? How did it wash over you?
Well, I wasn't surprised because, you know, some of our viewers might know that I lived in New York City once upon a time, and even though Mayor Bloomberg used to be a Republican at one time, he was very involved in the fight for New York to legalize same-sex marriage and went to Albany and lobbied a lot of Republicans to support that effort. He has been an ally for a very long time for our community, even though I'm not supporting him in this Democratic primary, I'm glad to know that we have an ally in Mike Bloomberg.
That's true. Well, he has been an ally to the LGBTQ community, and that's something I also lived in New York that I experienced. But I think part of what other people might feel, I'm speaking on behalf of others of whom I might not agree, is that because of his frisking policies, because of other things where he did marginalize other communities, that maybe just because he is down with the LGBTQ community, that doesn't give him enough of a pass, as a form of thought. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but.
Well, interesting, and his announcement will digest his plan for LGBT America if he was president of the United States in these coming days. Once again, we say goodbye to Terry as we report tonight in the news. We have literally gone around the world tonight and report on mainstream news and our LGBT perspective of mainstream news. And we've also brought you what today's headlines are for the LGBT community. That is today's news for the LGBT community on the world's first daily gay evening news show. And remember, if it's important to the LGBT community, it's important to Q News Tonight. So, for Aaron Darr and Napoleon Plays, I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and we literally are out of the closet and into the headlines. And this is Q News Tonight. Thank you, and good night.